Hello, my name is Mario Ayala, and I going to talk about the Playboys company. And nowadays, an increasing progressive attitude towards sexuality in all areas is I seen among people, see on poster, on television, on movies and music and magazines. But there was a time when it was not. It was like this. Um, in the years after the Second World War, second stayed at home if it was said the woman should be at home taking care of children, cleaning and making food well. Men could go out to building, get married, and not that it was what all men wanted. Um, sex was taboo, and the doctor Alfred published his book Sexual Behavior, where he shared sexual experiences of men, published in 1948. Shocked the public to these vulgar roots. But Alfred book only served to inspire 27 years old Chicago man, and her name is Hugh Master Hefner. He born in um, 20 26 April 26. He was an American magazine publisher. He was the founder and editor, the chief of Playboy magazine, a publication with revealing photographs and articles that spoke allegation in observantly. He was a middle class man who was not conformist at all desperation to raise his children was too great. During 15th magazine Square came out with influenced Hefner. The magazine had an floyd cartoons and Square things removed. It was returned into general interest magazine. Society had become more conservative, and Frankie Hefner did not feel identified with that. So one day Hefner test an idea that was blowing his mind in just over 8,000, and in his pocket almost, and only invested friends and family. He bored her family. Sat in the kitchen his mother Chicago apartment, and began to put together his project, his dream of life. So he created a magazine, Star Party. The magazine has inspired by the cartoon to from in the 13th, and the seasons titulated the deer the season. Hefner used the male deer hand and the last minute stag. Magazine where the name was copyright infringement, so they go to the work and throw of memes. One night, Hefner called Eldon Sayers, co-founder, executive vice president, and he born in March 9. 21. Passed away at the Queen of Valley Hospital in Napa, California in 2016. After a brief illness, they got together to find another name. Sellers was the mother worked for the Playboy automobile in the company. Chicago company suggested Playboy. So they got work and shipped the deer hair for rabbit. The rabbit. He has an playful, sexy, and sophisticated. By doing a daring move inside the magazine notoriety, Hefner also acquired the rights to an infamous but little seen calendar of young Marilyn Monroe naked. She says the sweet hair of month. Monroe was the first of the centerfold in December the 50s. Playboy Enterprises in Playboy Enterprises. He'd no sense with no date because they weren't sure what second issue would do. At the time, John Hefner only had to cross his fingers and hope to be lucky. The rest is history. A few days after having published the first number, income was so great that it and was moved to publish a second or third, even fourth, and Hefner was aware that if they wanted to continue to be successful, he had to make a better and born in print in quality writing. So the Playboy put semi-abstract or totally abstract realistic images. Artistic director Art Paul. He is founding art director and Playboy. Better known Art Paul. He born in January 18, and he was an American graphic designer, creator of Playboy magazine Rabbit. He was the art director of the same magazine for 30 years. If erased the border between commercial art and the plastic arts for Hefner, that line should not exist. Director Paul was inspired by the comment from Andy Warhol. When asked what do you do with commercial artists, to which respect all art is commercial. He said all art is commercial. Many artists who appear in the Playboy exhibit their works in galleries. Leroy Newman was the first painter and plastic artistic to exhibit works in galleries. At the beginning, when Hefner no found. Uh, he filled the pages and magazine with fiction and no fiction, reading renowned authors, which he obtained, but by repairing collection of books that he didn't have, and when he was able by those authors, they began to reign, obtain the and give him permanent look to magazine. Society was closed completely in the segment with what Playboy published, but Playboy insists that they began to give the message that told people that sex was part of their life and part of they and that there was nothing wrong. Unfortunately for Playboy, government censorship and the incredible bureaucracy were no longer forgetting the Hugh Hefner and magazine. For many, they imagined a naked woman and Playboy were obscene. The May detiene the publication permit their second class postage permit. A second class postage permit is a special permit that is available for newspaper and magazines that are sent by mail. The mail service refused to give them that permission. This was bad enough since the possession service is of the life death of the magazine or the newspaper. In order to control content, Playboy had legal problems, and trial took place the Washington D.C. and given second prestige against class. For Playboy, the class with postal service will be just the first many other obstacles that the company will soon begin to face. The country was about the through sexual revolution. The Hugh Hefner was in the line of the fire. Year after year, issue after issue. The Playboy was more and more directed, became the most imitated magazine, with about 50 Playboy imitation magazine appeared. Hefner built building across Chicago's largest Catholic church, and that was not good at all. In the government was corrupt, very involved. Hefner was one of the best known citizens of time. Yet they were embarrassed in 16th generation began with was only fought legal counts, but also in the streets on the pages of the Playboy. In October 24, the Playboy made this first foray in the world of television with the program Playboy's Penthouse. This program was designed to be sold at the night times. The big television networks, I say sold, since it was recorded sponsor or legal problems. They only vote the only vote is that he was interested in him this show featuring suspension mix the adult entertainment featuring amazing musicians, clever conversations, and some the comedians of the day. The recently divorced Hugh Hefner also also participate, always accompanied by the most beautiful women in Chicago. The concept of the show was that you were at party, the people drinking real drinks. The show also broke out the schemas. For total different reason. It's completely and deliberately broke racial barriers. Hugh Hefner was constantly attacked because he shows future people of color, and that was on frowned upon the time. He changed the anti-racial culture since he had no problem featuring people of color on his show. The Playboy interviews began in September and in 62. Over the years, people such as Fidel Castro and Muhammad Ali and John Lennon. A few months after the premiere of the Playboy Penthouse, Hugh Hefner also offered his first party to the public inauguration. The fears of the Playboy clubs that later became very famous. They published the article Playboy magazine about the Chicago's light. This was a private club with a key. You had have the key to enter. The receive more 1,000 letters from. He received more than 1,000 letters from the readers asking how to request a key to enter that club. When they realized that so many people wanted to be at those parties take place in the Playboy Penthouse, they said, but should we open a Playboy club? Now the Playboy reader could personally experience the urban sophistication displayed on the Playboy pages. Only people with the membership key could attend it. Since then, he got used to how the Playboy girls were going to dress up bunnies, since they were a symbol the company. In their nightclubs, the girls felt comfortable, attractive, and above all, that they were dominating in clubs, since all AEs were on them. In addition to that, like a little fantasy for the bunnies. They were the first white club to hear a black comedian, Dick Gregory. The ideas of the breaking down racial barriers and having quality also applied to the club business. No one was detaining membership in the Playboy clubs. Hefner said that in his house there was no racial intolerance because they had teach him. Ay, perdón. As a child that began racist is not natural. He said racism isn't not natural. So all that racism was strange to him. So states, especially Louisiana, says that letting people of color go to clubs was against the law. There could be no racial integration under state law, and that doesn't seem like that to him too. So he went black to buy back in franchises and decided personality care of the clubs pay via franchises. Hefner said, "This is what I believe in, and this is how it will be done." Que es lo que él cree y es lo que se va a hacer. That's something the Playboy is proud of saying, that bigots and racists will be lockfish. So Hugh Hefner continued to energize his enemies, and in June 4, after posting a nude article on popular actress James Mansfield, Hugh Hefner was arrested and charged with obscenity. In 1962, everything began to change. New technology, new ideas, and new ways to thinking. So Hefner decided to start writing the philosophy of the Playboy. Hugh Hefner spent day and night writing critics on articles that about sex in the law of United States. There was woman saving service of international homicide or abortion. He also learned to a man in West Virginia, who had been sent prison recibió una afelación o algo así, which they considered sodomy. and Ross cream far worse than homicide. So that man was serving a harsh sentence for having received the oral sex. Hefner got him out of prison, and they both inspired the Playboy to make their foundation, Playboy Foundation. In the second half of the 60s, series of the terrible political assassinations and incredibly cruel war in Vietnam terrorized the United States. The public was no longer satisfied with the poor status, the conservative attitude of the 50s, give way to newer ideas, and the institution received attacks all kinds. So Hefner was where he got his legendary motto, which was "Make love, no war." He is my "Make love, no war." And ay, se cayó.